Hi, I'm Steve Nathans Kelly, editor, streaming media producer, and today I'm going to be speaking with Patrick Heaphy, creative director for LCM 247, a Pearl River, New York-based production studio. Recently, LCM 247 teamed up with People to People, a Rockland County-based hunger relief organization, to put together a telethon and benefit concert to help those hurt the most by COVID-19 pandemic in Rockland County. The telethon raised over $100,000 and was a great success, pulling together the performances of more than 15 local artists who performed remotely from their homes. It was all up to LCM 247, of course, to bring these performances together and put together a successful live stream.
Joe DeUrso is a friend of mine. He is a rock and roller. He's has a great band, and he's got that classic Jersey sound. And then his friend Joe Allen was from this company called Active International, which actually happens to be within the same complex. And it was their idea to do some kind of fundraiser because Joe is also on the board of People to People. So they came to me and said, "We want to produce this thing. How do we do it?" And they're like, "We were just thinking about having artists send the stuff in. We'll record like little intros and whatever, and then we'll just post it on Facebook and YouTube." I'm like, "No way." I'm like, "Yes, great idea, but the live. And it took a little pushing, but that was just my idea. It was their idea for this whole event, but it was my need for making things difficult on myself to make it live.
And so the hosts are live and the assembly of the show is live, but I saw the performers kind of on their porches. There was a guy in a park, people in their living rooms. Now, they weren't live, right?
They all sent it in. I did want to do them all live. I was thinking, I'm like, there's no way. We got 3 live view channels. We can switch from one to the other if everybody's down with it. But I was overruled on that. So, and also our big, headliner there was Grace Vanderwall. And I think there was just some timing issues with the event. So we said, you know what, we'll assemble it. We'll string it out into these different segments and then kind of weave in our breaks. Kind of like the way you would see any, PBS, fundraising, effort. Although the speakers were live, so when we had Joe Allen, he was live via live view from his house. And then Diane from People to People was also live. And we found that live component there, especially with Diane, really allowed the emotion of the evening to carry through to the viewers, because I know everybody told me that moment when Diane was speaking was really touching for a lot of people. And I think everybody was kind of moved for the fact that this was all happening, and it was this kind of grassrootsy effort that everybody had their little part in making it happen.
So how did you pull it all together?
We reached out to all the artists. We had them submit all their videos in all these crazy different codecs and sideways and upways
so you just can't control that. You give them guidelines, but
you try. Yeah. People gave us YouTube links to rip, and we're like, okay. So that it took a long time just to herd all those kittens, but we did, and yeah. And then as far as we kind of had a rundown of the show, knew what we were going to talk about for the most part from a bullet point standpoint, but really just we winged it.
But yeah, explain to me a little bit of the in-studio workflow.
So we actually had the older Production Studio Pro 4K, the rack mount switcher. So that was actually feeding the monitor. So we had all the different feeds going into that switcher, and that was feeding the center monitor. So we could go between our guests and the videos that were being rolled. And then all the cameras, I think we had 5 cameras shooting that night. All the 5 cameras were into our switch. And then we had I think we only had 2 live view channels going into there, and then our video feed, which was being manually started and stopped from a separate edit room. It's been a great workflow for us to be able to integrate this Blackmagic gear. And as far as, especially now with the whole social distancing things, even in the studio, we don't want to have too many people in the studio. We were dealing with some of our essential clients that, have to get their messages out there. Luckily, we have a large enough space where we're able to keep the distance, and we've got our sanitizer everywhere. We have our masks that we hand out to people. But generally, in our 7,000 square feet place, we'll have no more than maybe 7 people here at a time. So
Okay.
we're practicing all the safe protocol. But we actually had to move the switcher area into the studio shooting area because we wanted to minimize the amount of people. So the A10 was great. And with the CCU being able to control the cameras, and then we have a couple pan tilts, one person is actually doing everything, rolling all the decks. I have, with some of these events, have fallen into the role of host to help keep things going, and then jump in from a technical standpoint. We learned a lot from that first time. We really threw that together in no time. And really not being able to have, a regular crew of even for something like this, you could use at least 8 people to get it going right. So when you really whittle that down to really 1.5, you need time. And now we've kind of worked out some of the kinks. So now we're able to do it where we do have more people now working back at the company. I was able to bring some employees back in. So we're able to stagger our shifts a little bit so that we can accomplish our needs and not exhaust, 1 or 2 of the staff. So that we're just like every company out there. How do we maintain social distance, work with our essential clients, and make sure everybody's safe? And so that's kind of been our approach now. Is just things take a lot longer to prepare for, but if we have the time, we can do it as if a crew came in today of 8, 10, 12 and set up the production and went live, which is what we have done in the past on those other shows that we've produced.
A lot of the people that I've talked to in this time have really been working in total isolation, whereas you're actually managing a crew with social distance, and certainly in Rockland, I would say, is almost unquestionably in a part of New York that's going to remain on pause for some time. So you're really anticipating workflows going forward that where you're going to be dealing with this.
So we have some medical clients, we have some security clients, and we have some municipalities and schools that are clients, and all that communication is essential. So we're kind of balancing our workload like that. If there's anything we can do for our non essential clients, we do have some staff that still are working remotely. We try to push that off on them, but a lot of the more involved communications aspects of things, they still have to happen around our servers, and you can remote in, but working in 4K, trying to remote in. Yeah, we're just structuring our working habits now around what is the new normal for the next 6, 8, 12 months. Now that sports aren't here and a lot of the live events aren't really going on, there's something really special about live. And luckily I convinced them that it was the way to go. And we had our problems. We had some major problems in the studio just before the event went off. And it started off with a couple little hiccups, but 10 minutes in, we were into the flow. The gear was holding up, and we were streaming away. And then we would cut in to keep it, again, that live thing. We also integrated some live view equipment. So we have 3 live view servers here. So we could do 3 live view feeds at the same time. And then we have two field units, but they're also using the little LU Smart app, which we're using with our clients. And together, routing that into our, each one of them gets routed into a hyper deck. Then we pull the audio out of the hyper deck, put it into a mixer, refeed all the different IFBs that everybody has to have working remotely. And it all came together, and it was, I think, 5 hours or something. Everybody was exhausted, but they raised over $110,000, which was a huge, a huge success for them. And we're actually going to be having another one in June with some different acts. So these we're going to be actually rolling some of the clips from all of the Front and Center shows that we produce. So we're going to have Liam Gallagher, Sheryl Crow, Gary Clark Jr., Lovely the Band, and we'll see if we can catch lightning in a bottle twice with it. Hopefully we do.